Have you ever made a split-second decision that completely changed your life? That's exactly what happened to Olivia Chen when she agreed to be someone's fake girlfriend for just one night. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more captivating content like this. The champagne glass trembled slightly in Olivia's hand as she scanned the elegant ballroom, wondering how on earth she'd gotten herself into this mess. Just 3 hours ago, she'd been curled up on her couch in sweatpants, planning a quiet Friday night with takeout and Netflix. Now she was wearing her only formal dress, pretending to be madly in love with a gorgeous stranger at his company gala, while his ex-girlfriend, who wasn't supposed to be here, glared daggers at her from across the room. "She's coming this way," James whispered, his warm breath tickling her ear as his arm tightened around her waist. "Remember, we've been dating for 4 months, you're a graphic designer, and you think I'm the most amazing man you've ever met." Olivia forced a smile. "That last part might be a stretch," she murmured through gritted teeth, "considering you ambushed me at a coffee shop 2 hours ago begging for this favor." James's laugh was genuine, his blue eyes crinkling at the corners. "I promise I'll make this up to you. Just help me get through tonight without looking pathetic, and I'll owe you for life." Before Olivia could respond, a statuesque blonde in a red dress that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent appeared before them, her smile as sharp as a knife. "James, darling. What a surprise to see you here. I thought you were in Chicago this weekend." The woman's gaze slid to Olivia, assessing her from head to toe in one swift, dismissive glance. "And who might this be?" "Vanessa." James's voice was steady, but Olivia felt his hand tense against her back. "This is Olivia, my girlfriend." "Olivia, this is Vanessa, an old colleague." The word colleague hung in the air between them, so obviously inadequate that Olivia almost laughed. Instead, she extended her hand with a confidence she didn't feel. "It's lovely to meet you, Vanessa. James has told me so much about you." Vanessa's perfectly manicured hand briefly touched Olivia's. "How strange. He's told me nothing about you." And just like that, Olivia knew this night was going to be far more complicated than she'd bargained for. The coffee shop had been packed that afternoon, the line stretching nearly to the door. Olivia had been standing there for 10 minutes, scrolling mindlessly through her phone, when someone tapped her shoulder. "Excuse me," said a deep voice behind her. "I know this is going to sound completely insane, but I need a girlfriend for tonight." Olivia turned around, ready to deliver a scathing response, but the words died on her lips. The man standing before her was tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and the most earnest blue eyes she'd ever seen. He was also, she couldn't help noticing, wearing an extremely well-tailored suit. "Excuse me," she managed, clutching her purse a little tighter. "I'm sorry, that came out wrong." He ran a hand through his hair, looking genuinely distressed. "I have this work gala tonight, and I just found out my ex is going to be there with her new fiancé. We broke up 6 months ago, and I told everyone I was seeing someone new to save face, but I'm not, and now I need a date or I'll look like a complete loser in front of my entire company." Olivia blinked. "So you're asking random women in coffee shops to be your fake girlfriend? Only the ones who look kind and possibly desperate enough to say yes." His smile was self-deprecating. "I'm James, by the way. James Harrington. I'm not a serial killer, I promise. Just a desperate man with a bruised ego." Despite herself, Olivia laughed. "Well, at least you're honest about it. So, will you help me? It's just for a few hours. Free dinner, open bar, and I'll pay you. Name your price." "Pay me?" Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Now it sounds like you're soliciting something illegal." James flushed. "No. God, no. Just a favor. A big favor from a stranger that I'm willing to compensate you for." Olivia should have said no. Any sensible person would have. But there was something about the genuine panic in his eyes, the way he seemed simultaneously confident and completely out of his depth, that made her pause. "Your ex won't be there?" she asked. "Vanessa? No way. She moved to London after we broke up. That's why this is so perfect, no one will ever know the truth." Olivia sighed, already regretting what she was about to say. "I don't want your money. But you will owe me a favor in return. A big one." The relief that washed over his face was almost comical. "Anything. Absolutely anything. And I get to keep whatever I eat from the buffet in my purse." James laughed. "Deal." 3 hours later, after a whirlwind trip to her apartment to change and a crash course in James's life during the taxi ride to the venue, Olivia found herself walking into the grand ballroom of the Westfield Hotel, arm in arm with a man she'd just met, ready to convince a room full of strangers that they were deeply in love. And then Vanessa had appeared, very much not in London, looking like she'd stepped off the cover of Vogue. "So, Olivia," Vanessa said, swirling her champagne, "James tells me you're a graphic designer? Which agency do you work for?" They were seated at a round table near the dance floor, Vanessa and her date, a handsome but bored-looking man named Richard, directly across from them. James's boss and his wife completed their table, along with another couple Olivia had already forgotten the names of. "I'm freelance, actually," Olivia replied, grateful that this part of her cover story was true. "I work with several different clients on branding and web design." "How fascinating," Vanessa said in a tone that suggested it was anything but. "And how did you two meet?" "James has always been so particular about who he dates." James squeezed Olivia's hand under the table, a warning or encouragement, she wasn't sure which. "We met at a coffee shop," Olivia said, deciding that sticking close to the truth would be easiest. "I spilled my latte all over his suit." James jumped in smoothly. "It was the most expensive suit I owned, and I was furious until I looked up and saw her face. Then I forgot all about the suit." His gaze was so convincingly adoring that Olivia felt her cheeks warm. He was good at this, too good, perhaps. "James offered to buy me another coffee," she continued, "and we ended up talking for hours. The rest is history." "How sweet," Vanessa said. "Though I'm surprised, James. After we broke up, you swore you were done with serious relationships for a while." James's boss, a jovial man named Harold, chuckled. "Well, the heart wants what it wants, doesn't it? And I must say, James has been much more pleasant to work with these past few months." "I assume we have you to thank for that, Olivia." Before Olivia could respond, Vanessa cut in. "Speaking of work, James, I heard the Westbrook account is struggling. Such a shame after all the effort you put into landing it." James stiffened beside her. "Where did you hear that?" "Oh, you know how people talk." Vanessa smiled sweetly. "Richard's firm is considering making them an offer, actually. Isn't that right, darling?" Richard, who had been staring at his phone under the table, looked up. "What? Oh, yes. Possibly." The tension at the table was palpable. Olivia glanced at James and saw a muscle working in his jaw. This wasn't just about an ex-girlfriend anymore, this was about his career. Without thinking, Olivia placed her hand on James's arm. "Actually, James just told me yesterday that the Westbrook campaign is exceeding all projections. The client called personally to congratulate him." James looked at her in surprise, then quickly masked it. "Olivia, you know I don't like to brag about work." "It's not bragging when it's true," she said, smiling up at him. "You worked so hard on that campaign. You deserve the recognition." Harold beamed. "That's wonderful news, James. Why didn't you say something in our meeting this morning?" "I was waiting for the final numbers," James said smoothly. "But yes, it's looking very promising." Vanessa's smile had frozen on her face. "Well, isn't that lovely? Richard, didn't you say you wanted to dance?" As Vanessa dragged her reluctant date to the dance floor, James leaned close to Olivia's ear. "Thank you," he whispered. "But how did you know about the Westbrook account?" "I didn't," Olivia admitted. "But she was clearly trying to make you look bad, so I figured the opposite of whatever she said was probably true." James laughed, a genuine sound that made something flutter in Olivia's chest. "You're a natural at this. Maybe I should hire you full-time as my personal defender." "The pay would have to be exceptional," she teased. "Dealing with your ex is hazardous work." "I'm so sorry about that," he said, his expression turning serious. "I had no idea she would be here. She really was supposed to be in London." "It's fine," Olivia assured him, though it wasn't, not really. What had started as a simple favor was becoming increasingly complicated. "But you might want to warn me if there are any other surprises I should expect tonight." James grimaced. "Well, now that you mention it." Before he could continue, Harold's wife leaned across the table. "You two make such a lovely couple. How long did you say you've been together?" "For months," they answered in unison, then smiled at each other. "Well, it's clearly working," Harold said. "James, my boy, don't let this one get away. She's a keeper." As the conversation moved on to safer topics, Olivia couldn't help but wonder what James had been about to tell her. What other surprises could this night possibly hold? She didn't have to wait long to find out. The dinner portion of the evening was winding down when the CEO of James's company took the stage. A hush fell over the ballroom as he tapped the microphone. "Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying the food and company. Before we move on to the dancing portion of our evening, I have a few announcements to make." James suddenly looked very interested in his dessert, avoiding Olivia's questioning gaze. "First, I'm pleased to announce that our London office is officially open for business, under the capable leadership of Vanessa Taylor, who has returned to us after a brief stint with our competitors." Polite applause filled the room. Vanessa stood and gave a small wave, her smile triumphant as she looked directly at their table. "So that's why she's back," Olivia murmured. James nodded grimly. "And why she's so interested in my accounts. She's not just my ex anymore, she's my direct competition." "Second," the CEO continued, "I'm delighted to announce that after careful consideration, we've selected the team that will be heading up our new West Coast division in San Francisco." James went very still beside her. "Leading this exciting new venture will be our very own James Harrington." The room erupted in applause. James plastered on a smile and stood, giving a small wave much like Vanessa had done. Under the table, Olivia felt his other hand gripping his napkin so tightly his knuckles were white. "James will be relocating to San Francisco next month to establish our presence there. We have complete confidence that under his leadership, the West Coast division will thrive. Please join me in congratulating him." As James sat back down, Olivia leaned close. "Is this the surprise you were about to mention?" "Not exactly," he whispered back. "I knew about the promotion, but the announcement wasn't supposed to happen until next week. I think Vanessa's presence accelerated the timeline." "Congratulations," Olivia said, genuinely impressed despite the strange circumstances. "That's a big deal." "Thanks." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "It is. But it's also—" He was interrupted yet again, this time by the CEO calling for attention once more. "And now, as is tradition at our annual gala, we'd like to recognize the partners and families who support our team members and make our success possible. Would all couples please make their way to the dance floor for our annual spotlight dance?" James closed his eyes briefly. "That," he said, "was the surprise I was going to warn you about." Olivia felt a moment of panic. "You want me to dance? In front of everyone?" "We don't have to," he said quickly. "We can sit this out." But Vanessa and Richard were already making their way to the dance floor, along with Harold and his wife and most of the other couples in the room. Vanessa caught Olivia's eye and raised an eyebrow in challenge. Olivia squared her shoulders. No, we should do it. It's part of the girlfriend experience, right? James looked at her with something like admiration. You're sure? Not remotely, she admitted. But I'm not backing down now. He stood and offered his hand with a formal bow that made her laugh despite her nerves. Then may I have this dance, Miss Chen? She placed her hand in his. You may, Mr. Harrington. As they walked to the dance floor, Olivia was acutely aware of the eyes following them. This wasn't just about fooling Vanessa anymore, it was about convincing an entire room of James's colleagues that they were a couple, that she belonged here on his arm. The music began, a slow, romantic ballad that made Olivia's heart sink. James pulled her gently into his arms, one hand at her waist, the other holding hers. I should warn you, she whispered, I'm a terrible dancer. Just follow my lead, he murmured back. And try not to look like you're being tortured. Is that how I look? A little bit. His eyes crinkled with amusement. Relax. It's just a dance. But it wasn't just a dance, and they both knew it. As James guided her smoothly around the floor, Olivia tried to focus on the steps, on not tripping over her own feet, on anything but the warmth of his hand at her waist and the subtle scent of his cologne. You're doing great, he encouraged her. Now smile like you're madly in love with me. Olivia looked up at him, ready with a sarcastic retort, but the words died on her lips. In the soft lighting of the ballroom, with his eyes fixed on hers and a gentle smile playing at his lips, James Harrington was devastatingly handsome. For a moment, she forgot this was all pretend. That's perfect, he said softly. You're a natural. At fake dating or dancing? Both. He pulled her a fraction closer. Thank you for doing this. I know it's a lot more than you signed up for. It's certainly been educational, she replied. Though I'm still not clear on why you needed a fake girlfriend in the first place. You seem perfectly capable of finding a real one. Something flickered in his eyes. It's complicated. We've got time, she said, nodding toward the other couples still swaying on the dance floor. And I think I've earned an explanation. James sighed. You're right. He was quiet for a moment, guiding her through a turn before continuing. Vanessa and I were together for 3 years. Everyone expected us to get engaged, including her. But something always felt off. When she got the offer to go to London, I encouraged her to take it. That doesn't sound so bad. It wasn't, until she accused me of wanting her gone so I could pursue the San Francisco position without her. She said I was putting my career ahead of our relationship. Were you? James looked troubled. Maybe. I don't know. But when she left, it was like this weight lifted. I realized I'd been unhappy for a long time but was too comfortable to admit it. So why the fake girlfriend? Why not just tell people you broke up? I did, at first. But then Vanessa started telling people I was devastated, that I called her every night begging her to come back. My boss started looking at me differently, like he was worried I couldn't handle the pressure. Then the San Francisco opportunity came up, and I knew I needed to prove I was stable, focused, and ready for the challenge. Olivia nodded slowly. So you invented a girlfriend to show everyone you'd moved on. Exactly. It was just supposed to be a vague story, no details, no appearances. But then Harold insisted I bring her to the gala, and, well. He gestured between them. Here we are. Here we are, Olivia echoed, trying to ignore the strange pang of disappointment she felt. Of course this was all about his career. What had she expected? The music shifted to a more upbeat song, and other couples began to fill the dance floor. James kept hold of her hand as they made their way back to their table. For what it's worth, he said as they sat down, this has been the most interesting company gala I've ever attended. Olivia smiled despite herself. Glad I could help. As the night progressed, Olivia found herself actually enjoying the evening. James introduced her to colleagues who seemed genuinely nice, and she discovered he had a quick wit that matched her own. They developed an easy rhythm, finishing each other's sentences and laughing at inside jokes they'd created on the spot. If she didn't know better, she might have believed they really had been dating for months. It was nearing midnight when Vanessa cornered her in the ladies' room. "You seem very comfortable with James," she said, reapplying her lipstick in the mirror. "How convenient that you two found each other just as he was being considered for the San Francisco position." Olivia kept her expression neutral as she washed her hands. "I'm not sure what you're implying." "Oh, I think you know exactly what I'm implying." Vanessa turned to face her directly. "James doesn't do serious relationships. He's married to his job. Whatever he's told you, whatever promises he's made, they won't last beyond his next promotion." "You seem very concerned about my relationship," Olivia observed. "That's interesting." Vanessa's perfect composure slipped for just a moment. "I'm just trying to save you from the disappointment I experienced. James will always choose his career over love. Always." Before Olivia could respond, the bathroom door opened and Harold's wife entered. Vanessa's mask of polite indifference slipped back into place, and she nodded curtly to Olivia before leaving. When Olivia returned to the ballroom, she found James deep in conversation with his boss. He looked up as she approached, his face lighting up with a smile that seemed too genuine to be fake. He extended his hand to her, drawing her into the circle. "Olivia, Harold was just telling me more about the San Francisco office. Apparently, it has a spectacular view of the bay." "That sounds wonderful," she said, trying to match his enthusiasm. Harold beamed at them. "You know, the company would be happy to assist with relocation for both of you. Many of our executives bring their partners when they transfer." Olivia froze. James's hand tightened around hers. "That's very generous," James said smoothly, "but Olivia's business is here. We haven't discussed what we'll do about the distance yet." "Well, don't wait too long," Harold advised. "Long-distance relationships are tough. Trust me, I know, my wife and I tried it for a year when I was first starting out. Nearly broke us." As Harold moved away to greet other guests, Olivia turned to James. "Did you know about that? The relocation for partners?" "No," he said, looking genuinely surprised. "That's not standard policy. Your boss seems very invested in our relationship." James ran a hand through his hair. "I may have emphasized how stable and happy I've been since meeting you. Harold's big on work-life balance, believes a happy home life makes for a productive executive. So I'm not just arm candy, I'm a career advancement strategy," Olivia said, trying to keep her tone light despite the unexpected hurt she felt. "It's not like that," James protested. "I mean, yes, it started that way, but—" "It's fine," she interrupted. "Really? This is what I signed up for. Just, no more surprises tonight, okay?" Before he could respond, the CEO was back at the microphone, announcing the last dance of the evening. James hesitated, then held out his hand. "One more dance? To complete the charade?" Olivia should have said no. She should have made an excuse about being tired or needing to leave. Instead, she placed her hand in his and let him lead her to the dance floor one more time. This dance was different from the first. James held her closer, his cheek occasionally brushing against her hair as they moved. Neither of them spoke, but something had shifted between them, a tension that hadn't been there before. "Olivia," he finally said, his voice low. "I need to tell you something." She looked up at him, suddenly afraid of what he might say. "What is it?" James. There you are." Vanessa appeared beside them, her smile brittle. "I've been looking everywhere for you. Richard had to take a call, and I was hoping you might introduce me to the CEO of Westbrook. I heard he's here tonight. James's expression hardened. Vanessa, I'm in the middle of something. It's just a quick introduction, she pressed. For old time's sake. Olivia stepped back from James's embrace. It's fine. I need to use the restroom anyway. Olivia. I'll be right back, she promised, already turning away. She didn't go to the restroom. Instead, she found a quiet alcove near the exit where she could take a moment to collect herself. This evening had become far more complicated than she'd anticipated, and not just because of Vanessa's unexpected appearance or the dance or the talk of San Francisco. No, the complication was inside her, the way her heart had started racing when James looked at her, the jealousy she'd felt when Vanessa interrupted them, the fact that she was standing here genuinely upset about a relationship that didn't even exist. Get it together, Olivia, she muttered to herself. It's not real. What's not real? She whirled around to find Richard, Vanessa's date, standing behind her with 2 glasses of champagne. He offered one to her. You look like you could use this. Olivia accepted the glass warily. Thanks. So, he said, leaning against the wall beside her, what's not real? Besides this entire evening, I mean. She stiffened. I don't know what you're talking about. Richard chuckled. Come on. Vanessa's been obsessing over James since we got here, and you've been looking like a deer in headlights half the night. It doesn't take a genius to figure out something's off. You don't know anything about me and James. True, he conceded. But I do know Vanessa. And I know she's determined to get him back, especially now that he's got this big promotion. She's always been ambitious that way. Olivia took a sip of champagne to avoid responding. Richard didn't seem malicious, just observant, but she wasn't about to confirm his suspicions. For what it's worth, he continued, I think you're good for him. Fake or not, he seems happier with you than he ever did with Vanessa. Before Olivia could respond, James appeared at the entrance to the alcove, his expression darkening when he saw Richard. Olivia, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. His gaze shifted to Richard. Everything okay here? Just keeping your lovely girlfriend company, Richard said, raising his glass in a mock toast. Vanessa's still looking for you, by the way. Something about the Westbrook CEO. I already introduced them, James said curtly. If you'll excuse us, I'd like a moment alone with Olivia. Richard pushed off from the wall with a knowing smile. Of course. Lovely meeting you, Olivia. I have a feeling we'll be seeing each other again. As Richard walked away, James turned to Olivia with concern. What did he say to you? Nothing important, she assured him. Just making conversation. James didn't look convinced, but he didn't press the issue. The gala's winding down. Are you ready to go? Olivia nodded, suddenly exhausted. The emotional roller coaster of the evening had left her drained. More than ready. As they made their goodbyes to Harold and the other executives, Olivia caught sight of Vanessa watching them from across the room, her expression unreadable. For a moment, Olivia felt a pang of sympathy for her. Whatever had happened between her and James, it clearly wasn't entirely resolved. Outside, the night air was cool and refreshing after the stuffiness of the ballroom. James hailed a taxi and gave the driver Olivia's address, which she'd shared earlier for their cover story. Thank you, he said as they settled into the back seat. For everything tonight. You were amazing. It was interesting, she replied, choosing her words carefully. Not how I expected to spend my Friday night, but definitely memorable. James laughed softly. That's one way to put it. He hesitated, then added, I'm sorry about Vanessa. And about the San Francisco thing. I should have warned you. It's okay. It all worked out in the end. They fell into silence as the taxi wound through the city streets. Olivia gazed out the window, trying to process everything that had happened. It had been just one night, a favor for a stranger that had spiraled into something much more complex. Tomorrow, she would go back to her normal life, and James would go back to his. Their paths would never have crossed if not for a chance encounter in a coffee shop. So why did the thought of never seeing him again make her chest ache? The taxi pulled up in front of her apartment building. James insisted on paying the driver and walking her to the door, ever the gentleman even when there was no one watching. "Well," she said, fumbling for her keys, "mission accomplished, I guess. Your colleagues think you're happily coupled up, and Vanessa knows you've moved on." "Have I?" he asked quietly. Olivia looked up, startled by the question. "What do you mean?" James stepped closer, his expression serious. "Before Vanessa interrupted us during that last dance, I was going to tell you something." Her heart began to race. "What?" "This might sound crazy, but I felt something tonight. Something real. And I hope, you felt it too." Olivia's breath caught in her throat. "James. I know we just met. I know this whole situation is bizarre. But I'd like to see you again, for real this time. No pretending, no audience, just us." She should have said no. She should have thanked him for the evening and walked away. Instead, she found herself saying, "I'd like that." His smile was like sunrise breaking through clouds. "Tomorrow? Dinner?" "Tomorrow," she agreed, unable to stop her own smile from spreading. He leaned down slowly, giving her plenty of time to pull away, and pressed a gentle kiss to her cheek. "Good night, Olivia Chen. Thank you for being my fake girlfriend." "Good night, James Harrington," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for the most unexpected night of my life." As she watched him walk back to the waiting taxi, Olivia touched her cheek where his lips had been. One night as someone's fake girlfriend had somehow led to the possibility of something genuine. Life, she was discovering, had a strange way of complicating even the simplest arrangements. But sometimes, complications were exactly what you needed. 6 months later, Olivia stood in the empty apartment, surrounded by cardboard boxes labeled with her name. The San Francisco lease agreement sat on the counter, signed by both her and James. "Is that the last of it?" James asked, entering with another box. "I think so," she replied, looking around at the space that had been her home for the past 3 years. "It's strange, saying goodbye to this place." James set down the box and wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Having second thoughts? About the apartment?" "No. About moving across the country with a man I've only known for 6 months? Maybe a few." He chuckled, the sound vibrating against her back. "If it helps, technically we've been dating for 10 months. That's what we told everyone at the gala, remember?" Olivia turned in his arms to face him. "Ah yes, our elaborate deception. How could I forget? Best lie I ever told," he said, kissing her softly. "Though I'm glad we don't have to pretend anymore." After that night at the gala, they had indeed gone to dinner the next day, and the day after that, and soon they were spending every free moment together. When James received his final transfer orders to San Francisco, he had asked Olivia to come with him. Her freelance design business could operate from anywhere, and several of James's colleagues had already referred clients to her on the West Coast. It had been a big decision, but somehow it felt right. What had started as a fake relationship had developed into something neither of them had expected but both had come to treasure. "Vanessa called yesterday," James said casually as they began carrying boxes down to the moving truck. Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Oh? What did she want?" "To congratulate us, believe it or not. Apparently, Richard told her we were moving in together. She seemed genuinely happy for us." "That's surprising." James shrugged. "People change. She's doing well in London, got promoted again." I think she finally realized we weren't right for each other. Or she realized you're happier with me, Olivia teased. Undoubtedly. He kissed her again, longer this time. Best fake girlfriend ever. As they loaded the last of the boxes and prepared to leave New York behind, Olivia couldn't help but marvel at how one split-second decision in a coffee shop had changed the entire course of her life. She had agreed to be someone's fake girlfriend for one night, and somehow ended up finding something real that would last far longer. Sometimes, the most complicated situations led to the simplest truths, that love could be found in the most unexpected places, with the most unexpected people, under the most unexpected circumstances. And sometimes, the best relationships started with a lie. The end. If you enjoyed this story about unexpected love and taking chances, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming content. Remember, sometimes the most beautiful relationships begin in the most unusual ways. Share your thoughts in the comments below.